Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Empowering Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Glenn Harper.
Julie Smith.
What's going on, Ju?
Well, we made it through the first of the year, right?
It,
2025, here we come,
I can't believe it. We're here. Buckeyes are national champions, and we're almost into February.
which means it's going to get warm soon.
That's all we can hope for. Well, we've got a wonderful guest on the docket today. Can't wait to get into this guy. I'd like to introduce Matt Ruttenberg, co-owner of Business Development of Life, Inc., Retirement Services. Try saying that 5 times fast. Matt is a hardcore retirement plan specialist who got fed up with charging clients rent to hold their money to provide real value for his clients. Making the jump from the run-of-the-mill financial advisor, he decided that moving money was not as satisfying as coaching and helping clients provide better solutions for their employees. When he's not surfing or golfing in sunny Kanoe, Hawaii, he is spending time with his wife, Nisha, and his 2 kids. His work experience in the financial sector is long and distinguished. Eventually, one must go through the valley to get to the other side and do what one is destined for. Some pick Alaska or the desert, but Matt picked Florida and Hawaii. Matt makes working look fun as he navigates the retirement plan industry to be the authority in the room. Thanks, Matt, for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Glenn, Julie. Appreciate it.
So it's much warmer there than it is here right now, huh?
It is. It is warmer. It's, there's never like more than a 10-degree swing in any direction at any time of day or night, summer, winter. So it's usually pretty consistent and mostly sunny.
Which that explains your genuine happy attitude at this point. Well, I love to stalk a guest, get a little facts on them, and then try to figure out, see where this conversation goes, because it's all about the journey. All of our listeners are probably entrepreneurs at one point or are currently trying to be one, and they just want to know what that's like because it's a very hard space to be in.
Yeah.
And it looks like you grew up in Stowe, Kent, Ohio, where the farm country is still vibrant, where you attended the prestigious Stowe Monroe Falls High School and proudly wore the Bulldogs swag. Nothing like a small town kid making it in the big leagues. What was that like in Stowe, Ohio?
Yeah, that was it's one of those things that you think the town is bigger than it actually is. And then you go back to it and visit and you're like, wait a second, I can walk everywhere here. But yeah, it was good. It's one of those things that you grow and you're happy and you're happy with where you're at. And then all of a sudden you want to spread your wings and see the rest of the world and see, the warm weather, basically get out of the Northeast Ohio cold front and lake effect of every single year. I remember distinctly waking up at one point and saying, looking at the snow and saying, okay, this is my last winter here. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Everybody's got a breaking point.
I say that I've said that for 39 straight years, and here I am.
We both grew up just due west of you. I was in a little town called Nova near
Okay.
Lodi, and Julie was in Ashland. So we're very familiar with your spot there. And when you grew up there, were your parents entrepreneurs? They worked for the man? How did that go?
Yeah, so my dad was in the financial services industry. So I'm a third generational finance guy, if you will. And my grandfather was in that. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, raised us. And but so my dad worked and owned his own business practice, his own financial practice. So I was a finance kid. I was raised through it. I knew it. It's kind of like all I knew as I was growing up. And but it really taught me, the basics of finance. Now, he was in a completely different sector where I am now, but it was a great starting point to get me going in the finance industry. And being able to do that is just, having the fundamentals and growing up with those fundamentals is so helpful when you're talking to people.
Were you slave labor at a young age, working for him in the office, doing things, random tasks, or no?
Yeah. It's a tax strategy too, right?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember doing the filing and doing the, there's a lot more paper back then, right? Letters went out, not emails. There's a lot of envelopes and things like that being worked through. So yeah, I remember those days and going to the conferences and shaking hands with some of the other finance guys and learning their side of it. And it was really interesting to grow up with. Yeah.
But you were allegedly collecting a paycheck, but you actually never saw the money, which is why we call it slave labor, which is kind of funny.
Right.
But that's the best part. You get enough for like a Snickers bar.
That's right.
Did you have any siblings that worked in there with you guys, or was it just you that did it, or how did that work?
Yeah. I'm a twin. I'm an identical twin. We actually won a few awards over there in Twinsburg, right? They have the Twins
Yep.
Day.
Big festival. Yeah.
Much smaller back then, but yeah, so we both got into it. I think he lasted in the industry. Let's see, let me think. He was maybe 2 years into it, and then he's like, I'm out. And he went to Florida, and that's where I followed him a few years later. He kind of came back into it for a minute, and then he said, "Nah, okay."
What's his name?
Brad. His name is
Brad.
Brad.
How do we know that you're not Brad?
I might be. I
Okay.
might be.
We're going to have to do some more forensic research here. So, part of the things that, we see that entrepreneurs, some of them are programmed that way from a very early age, and some of them kind of learn and get mentored into it, and others just at one point can't take the real world and just jump right into it. Do you feel like as a young lad in the farm there that you were destined to be an entrepreneur just because of your mentor, your dad, and just in that industry and in just running your own shop, you're like, I like this. I like this uncertainty. I like the anarchy. I like not having just one job. I like doing everything. Is that something you like grew there and you're like, this is awesome, or you're like, man, this sucks?
No, yeah, great question. I would say yes. That was, and that there's a distinction between my brother and I too. Like I thrive on the chaos, on that kind of thing, and it is, it is a journey. My goodness, is entrepreneurship a journey, and the ups and downs with it. But it's, the highs are higher, the lows are lower, and it's exciting once you hit one of those achievements that you're looking for. So absolutely. I tried it, but I worked for a bank a little bit out of college in the finance side of over there, and did the investments over there, and it was, you know, comfortable with the salary. But after that, I was bored. I got bored is really what it was. So anything outside of the entrepreneur side, I got bored.
Did you play sports growing up, or what did you do in your free time besides go to the office?
I played every sport you can imagine. Was I good at all of them? No. But I golfed a lot. I was on through the high school golf team. That was my thing. And so I had a lot of balance with that too. That was a great way to, it's funny when you look at the way I golfed. I was, I was the guy who the coach said, Matt, stop going for it. Stop going for it. You can lay up sometimes. And, had a few discussions that way. And then sometimes I did, then it was like, okay, I laid up a few times and it made more sense. But so it kind of like very similar with the way I worked through my career is, kept pushing the envelope. I can't go fast enough. I like to push the agenda, if you will, go a little bit faster. And same thing with how golf was back then too. It's funny.
So were you the firstborn twin or the secondborn twin?
I was the first. I got a minute.
I would have guessed that based on your personality.
Yeah.
You came out, oh my beer, this is how it's going to be. That's it.
That's right.
I'm guessing Brad kind of beats to his own drum, right?
Yes.
Doing his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's funny in the golf did your dad push you into that? Because as we know in business, for whatever reason, golf just seems to make the world go round, right? It's just a thing you do in the business world. I can't, people that don't know it, they don't understand it, but it's just a thing, right?
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. I started when I was 5. So, I was, and then I kind of, I guess, weaned off of it because I was doing so many other sports and didn't really focus in on it too much until I really got back into high school. And then when I really focused on it, that's when I really started getting to the upper echelon on that side of it. But yeah, it's funny. I don't golf that much anymore. You think I'm in Hawaii and it's like beautiful, but it's not as popular here. But when you have resident pass, I can play 18 holes for $18 here when you're on the local courses. It's comical, but I don't do it as much.
Well, it's just tough in Hawaii. I think when you get past like noon, 1 o'clock, the winds come in. It's just hard to play on the hills with all the winds, right? So you got to play in the morning, and it just limits you. And it takes so long.
Well, he's up real early this week, so maybe he can be out there by 8 a.m. and he'll be back by noon.
Well, you take it for granted, right? You live on a beach, you never go to the beach. You live in Hawaii on a golf, you play golf. It's just weird how the world works.
we're in the, kids are middle school or approaching middle school. So we're in the, let's just drive them around. You work or drive. That's where you're going, to drive them to everything they got to do. So
Well,
we're in that world at the moment.
well, at some point you're like, all right, I got to go get educated.
Wait, I
And
have one more
Right.
question.
go ahead.
So did you ever deliver newspapers or, what do people do? Like paint rocks, lemonade stand? Did you ever do any of that growing up?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did, let's see, we had a lawn mowing business. We kind of took it over from an older gentleman, this was in Stowe, and we had maybe 15 lawns, did their driveways in the winter, things like that. But that was that was our main job growing up, was mowing grass on our own, did the flyers, brought in new clients. It was fun. It was fun.
So Brad did that with you.
Oh yeah, and we brought in other business partners, our friends, our cousin, and everything, and merged our client book and everything. It was fun.
Isn't it funny when you grew up in the country and when there's nothing else to do, you might as well keep busy and make some money. So it's just a different
Yeah,
mentality than people that live like city.
yeah,
There's so many other choices, but you're in the country. Well, let's go
I
make
mean,
some money.
Stowe's a pretty big
yeah,
city.
I mean, it's a crossroads. That's for sure.
yeah.
But that's the deal. So, at some point, you're like, all
It's
right,
quaint,
it
right?
is. There you go. But you're near some cool towns. So you decide I want to go off
Yeah,
to college, and you picked the University of Toledo, and then you're like, you know what? After a year, I think I want to go back to Kent State. And so,
yeah,
how did you decide UT, and then how did you decide to come back to Kent State?
yeah. UT was just far enough from home, right? It was 2 hours from home. It wasn't nothing beyond that. It was, my friends, my cousin, my brother, we all had um we actually all paired up into one single dorm, believe it or not. And then we wanted to go back, maybe after the first year. We went back to Kent, which was closer to home. We had some other friends that we wanted to get a little bit closer to, and miss them, but they had a great finance department, for one. um and then we wanted to buy a condo. We wanted to buy someplace, a property where real estate investing I'm very interested in real estate investing. And so we bought the condo. And back then, my dad was a real estate investor as well, and he was doing all um the Burr method and all these other things that are quite popular in the real estate world. And I didn't even know it. Those words weren't canned back then, of all the places he had. So we got the condo, we rented out to our buddies, and held that for a long time, held that property just off campus at Kent State for a long time. But they had just a better finance department, is basically when I realized, okay, finance is where I want to go. Let's just go back over here and go down that route.
I feel like you kind of left something on the table. If you're going to do a finance degree, why didn't you just do the counting too? I mean, I feel like you missed an opportunity there.
Let's
That's
just
how
say
I
I'm more of a
feel.
creative type mind. I'm more of a creative type
Uh,
mind, not the analytical.
yeah.
And you'll learn here shortly what my role is in our company, and with what my
Yes.
business partners do versus what my role is. So, I'm the one on the podcast. Let's put it that way.
Got it.
So I'm
Yeah.
more of the creative
I
guy.
get it.
So I like building the plan, and then I'll pass it on to the
Right.
analytical side of the company. So.
Well, the trolls in the corner with the funny shirts. So, at some point you ended up in, you had a long career working with different companies, doing a thing. You started your own, working your own, and you're in Fort Myers for a while. And then you decided to live on the island of Oahu and Kanoe, and the Bamboo Man, Hawaii, is the literal definition. Like, how did you
Yeah.
end up there? And that's
Oh yeah.
1,000 residents.
Interesting.
That's way different, and it's on an island. Like, how did that transpire? Most people would not, that's a destination that says I'm going there versus just accidentally show up, one would think.
Yeah. So, growing up in the finance industry, that was the location, Maui and all that was the location for all the conferences
Mm.
everywhere. It was back then, it was just Hawaii was the place with the finance industry for every conference you can think of. And so I actually settled in Florida, because I was like, Hawaii is a little much. Let's settle for Florida, kind of thing. And then, so I started straight out of college in Akron, Ohio. And I worked with my dad. I partnered with my dad, and I was like, I got to get out of here. So went to Florida, straight into the bank side of it, did the investments there. And then I went independent after my dad passed away, and grew a book of business for 10 years down there. I guess 15 years now I think about it, on the independent side. But being in Florida, I was working with, retirees and doing the B2C, working with clientele who were purely retirees. And it was just boring for me. I did not want to it was the same plan over and over and over again, essentially. So, and my wife and I were like, we want to spread our wings. I try to go a little bit more virtual so we can travel a little bit more. We didn't want to be in that area anymore living. So we sold that right before COVID, and we actually RV'd for a year
Awesome.
up in out of the just the east side of the country, and absolutely loved it. Had so much fun. It was during COVID, and we actually tried to come here a few times, but that's when it was really shut down. And then there was a point where the real estate market started pumping, and we're like, let's just go for a little bit. Let's just do it. This is a lifelong dream of mine to live here for even just a short time. And that was 3 years ago now. And we're like, let's just go. Let's just do it. And we did it. And we haven't looked back yet.
The RV, and did you have the young kids doing that?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. Love
Yeah.
it. I mean,
That was fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
because they weren't in school, right? You could just go anywhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was all homeschool, and everything. So that was quite the adventure. That was a lot of memories there. A lot of memories.
What was your favorite stop on that? You can only pick one.
Oof. So Michigan is amazing, believe it or not.
I can't believe you're going to say that after you said you're from Ohio.
No, right?
Michigan is beautiful.
I know. You're born and bred. You're like, yeah, Michigan's sorry. I can stay over there. But no, we spent a month and a half all the way to the UP and everything. It's one of the most geographically diverse places. But then honestly, New England was awesome. I love New England. I thought New England area, the whole New Hampshire, the history of it was phenomenal. So I'd say those two areas were my favorite.
You picked areas which are very not specific, but I'll let it slide.
We'll allow it.
I know. Okay. All right. Yeah. I can't. It's impossible.
No, I know.
We were only in certain areas for like 2 days at a time sometimes. So we're like, okay, let's just keep moving.
It's kind of cool. A lot of the times when we see entrepreneurs that make the transition from real job to being an entrepreneur and doing a thing, it's really helpful to have people that, support and believe in you. And it sounds like your spouse was definitely that way, your wife.
Absolutely.
And then knowing that you've watched your dad go through ups and downs and back and forth, you're like, yeah, I got this. Hold my beer. We can do this. I mean, that genuine support and attitude that you had with that, didn't seem like you were stressed at all the whole time. You're like, I got this, no problem. I mean, you did have the financial means when you sold the company to kind of get along and do it, but you knew that wasn't going to last forever. So, but you did take the time to clear your head and do that. And that's a big plus. I mean, most entrepreneurs might not have the financial luxury for time, right? But to have the support and mentorship, that's a really big plus for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think we'd be if my wife wasn't so supportive and a entrepreneur at heart as well. I don't think we'd still be as an entrepreneur, because it wasn't like, yeah, just stop and go just got to pay the bills, just stop and do that. It was push through it. You got this, you got this, you got this. So it's extremely supportive. And if I was by myself, it would be so much more difficult to do that.
It's, as we always talk about the journey about how you think you're going to do one thing, and then you're all of a sudden something happens, whether it's life or a change of attitude or circumstance, but you always got to do these pivots all the time. And it sounds like you had, 3, major pivots from what I can tell. The one pivot was, I'm going to have a real job. Yeah, that isn't going to work for me. I'm going to do financial services in this way with retirees. That's not doing it for me. And then you got to where you are right now, where you're, teaching the people, right? And so how did you when you landed where you're at now, is this like the final destination? Like you just love it, and this is
Oh,
Wait,
absolutely.
I want him to tell me what he's doing now and how he stumbled upon it. How did you build it? How did you create it?
He's a tarot card reader now. That's what he does.
I know, but how
That's
did
what
he
I do.
that?
Yeah.
No, yeah. So I skipped a big step here actually in between here, and between selling my business, my independent, my B2C side of the business. My brother and I created and my wife actually, all three of us created this podcast, and we were going to go more into the financial education side of it. So we had a podcast. We had, I'm still integrated into the financial media quite a bit. I run a financial media networking group of 160 bloggers and YouTubers across the country, across the world, actually, and through an organization called FinCon. It's where finance meets media is the whole mantra there. And so we did that. That didn't work well because my brother's mindset wasn't as, he didn't have the same, I guess, what's the best way to say this?
Fortitude.
He didn't have the same, motivation and push to get through that beginning part of that business to, the whole first 5 years of any business is really difficult. So that kind of went to the wayside. And then I was big. So what I'm doing now is I'm a co-owner of Life Inc. Retirement Service. So we're a 401k administration company, and we are a unicorn business. We do everything very custom. But the whole point is like, I loved working with entrepreneurs. I love working with businesses. They evolve constantly. Every single client is completely different. And I just love talking to business owners because you learn so much from talking to business owners about what they're doing and what's working and what's not working. And then you're able to implement it into your own business as well. But and absolutely love so my role in our company is to talk to clients and bring on new clients and build the plan for them. And I'm using all my past knowledge. I'm using my entrepreneur spirit to help build that and say, hey, what if you took this path instead of, going this path, and being able to build that and then and say, okay, great, we've done that. Now let me bring in the rest of my team to get that administered and keep you compliant and keep the plan going the way it is. And I just keep talking and talking and talking and be able to speak with entrepreneurs. So where I'm at now is absolutely where I love to be. And it took a long time. I mean, patience is the story here. It's like, it's okay if you start off in the wrong path, but figure out what you actually like about that and try to evolve. There was a point where I sat down and like, okay, I know a lot about finance. I know a lot about finance because I've been in so many corners of the industry. I know what I'm good at. I know what I like to do. Now, how do I make money off of that? And that's where we've built, and that's where I partnered with my team now, with this company. And I think it's focus on, there's a book called, there's a book. Oh no, I'm going to blank out on the book. I'll remember before we finish up today. But it's all about like the path. It's okay to take the long route to where you need to go because you need to learn the path. You need to take that path in order to really know and understand what is that next step in the final piece. So I'm going to remember it. It's my favorite book of all time, and I'll remember it and I'll say it before you finish up here today. But it was quite the journey to get to this point because I had to understand that I don't like working with individuals on just the retiree part of it. I don't want to just do the one-to-one thing. I want to be able to talk to business owners. And I know what my strengths are. I needed to learn that. I needed to know what my weaknesses are so I can have other people do that. And then you build that team around you. And it is such a strong point once you get to that part of your career.
So you're basically a third-party administrator? Is that kind of what you guys do? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We got to deal with those all the time. It is in the industry from our standpoint is, at a CPA advisory practice and deal with it like, the people that actually say they do 401ks, they know nothing about them. They maybe can just do investing. And then to try to find a competent TPA, it's really hard because they're
Yeah,
generally not good at talking, and they generally don't want to bring in all the parties to look at it from the multi-level, not just the plan
absolutely.
design. We're trying to look at, well, what's it mean big picture from the tax standpoint, what entities and all those things. So the corroboration is just rare. So if you're the unicorn in the space, that would be awesome. And maybe offline we'll have to chat on that because it's
Yeah,
something that's definitely in the industry that's needed. But yeah, bring in. You're not just moving money around. You're solving problems and creating value for people, right? And that is
yeah,
something that is needed in the entrepreneurial space, right? We're all trying to get to that space, and it's funny how you know some CPAs and some financial advisors, they don't do a very good job of their circle of what they're doing for their client. The client thinks they do the same thing, but they don't. Like we cross about 1% if we lay our circles next to
absolutely.
each other, and just once you can convince the like a TPA or someone like yourself that we're not in your wheelhouse, we're over here, but we can bring value to that, and you're not in our wheelhouse, and you can
Yeah,
tell that to the client. It's really kind of nice to do, right? And just knowing
yeah.
the space and who you get your clients from is really the value there.
Yeah, that is, we bring on, I talk to a lot of business owners. I mean, I hundreds and hundreds a year, easily. And they don't have the team. They mass majority don't have a team set up. They might have a guy, or a CPA firm, but that's it. That's it. So they're looking at everything in this very small scope of, that expertise. Or they have maybe a buddy of theirs or their sister or something that is kind of competent in the area. And they're like, yeah, let's just do that. And the reality is in my side of it, we're working with one IRS code and we know it very, very well. But the whole IRS code is built for entrepreneurs. So let's go outside of that because we're just one side of the coin. We're just one piece of it. And you have to absolutely have a team set up, and communication with that team is vital, especially for entrepreneurs. My goodness, like
Well, yeah, and
it's
that's the
so
thing.
broad.
Like, if you're just investing the money, or that's a compliance thing, right? You're just doing a thing. You're not really bringing the value. If you're just doing somebody's taxes or doing their financial statement, you're just doing a task. You're just compliance work. To bring value on the advisory side is kind of like you're building the plan that's going to gain value. From our side, if you have most entrepreneurs don't have the advisor in our capacity that can put that all together. They just
Mhm.
feel like can't afford it. They don't see the value, and it's just this industry has done a horrible job of marketing that to share what we
Yeah,
really do for clients. But that's why referrals are so great because you get to grease the skids on that, and it's
yeah,
very rewarding when you can walk into like yourself. You walk into a client's office and like, look, you've been doing a SEP and putting all this money for your employees. Well, why don't we do a solo K or bolt on a DB plan? And like you're loving life and you're
absolutely.
putting away 90% of the money to yourself. And oh, by the way, we're not paying tax. So that is a great
Glenn's got
conversation.
googly eyes over here.
No, no,
He's
I
like,
just know his, and a lot of people don't. They might know it in your industry, but they don't know how to communicate it to everybody else to implement it. Right? They'll
Yes.
implement it if you tell them, but they're not going to be proactive in that. Right? That's the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's two questions that kind of answer what the goal is, right? And we do this every single client the same way. It's one, why are you talking to me? Like, what's the purpose? Why do you want a 401k? Why were you told to get whatever that, however you got to me? What's the reason? And it's multiple choice. It really is.
Mhm.
Is this for you? Is it because your state mandate tells you that you have to do something, or is it because your employees are bugging you? Or is it because you, as the owner, want to stockpile or save taxes or whatever that is? Or is it all of the above? And then the second question is, okay, great. I don't care what the first answer was. What is it that you want to do, business owner? Like, how much do you want to save? And we'll get answers from, depends on the profitability of the company, obviously, but what is, as much as humanly possible? Is it 20 grand? I'm still investing in my business. Or I don't like traditional investing. I don't like mutual funds. I don't like index funds. I don't like stock. I'm a real estate mogul. I like doing commercial development or something like that. And it's like, okay, let's pull all that together and use all these tax codes and use all these different strategies and put it together. And that's exactly what you have to do. You can't, it's a lot of professionals, ones that even focus on 401ks or investing or whatever it is, they still don't know. There's so much to it and layered to it. It's the amount of gray space in the 401k industry is beyond what most people realize. And there's two kinds of plans. There's prototype and there's non-prototype. Prototype is like you going to LegalZoom and filling out the form that's on the website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boilerplate document, versus hiring an attorney who's going to build a custom legal document for you. And that's when you get really creative. That's when we have a lot of fun. That's what we do. That's our thing, is we like to be really creative with the plan and solve a problem. I was working with my business partner. I was doing 401ks before. Even I still did 401ks, but I was doing it because I wanted to get to the business owner and then talk to the business owner. And I actually won an award. I was top 50 under 40 in the country with 401k advisors back when I was sub 40. Let's put it that way. And
20 years ago.
It was 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, right.
It was 5 years ago. And it was so I did it, but I was using my partner that I work with now, and I called him the 401k Smith. Like, we could solve any problem there was, and it's because that non-prototype custom design that's like, okay, let's just solve the problem. But the amount of advice that I see that comes through, I can almost look at a plan and say that can be improved, that can be improved, that can be improved. So if it's not done the right way, and it's okay to start off with one of those prototype, it's okay, because if you're saying, I just want to do something better than the bag IRAs that my state is doing. I mean, Ohio has one coming. It's passed. There's a state mandate coming down the pike for 401ks in Ohio, but there's a lot, like 35 states have something coming, if not already implemented. And the states are offering a bag of IRAs. That's all it is. And a lot of times the business, we're in business not only to win our customers and our clients, we're in business to bring in the best employees to set yourself apart. So a lot of them are saying, I just don't want to offer that. I don't want to give them an IRA. I want to offer something better, and also take advantage of that through tax credits, tax deduction, whatever it is for myself. And I'm ready to do that. And that's when usually we're talking to somebody.
Well, I think that the takeaway for our listeners is the fact that, if you're doing something, you don't know if it's really right. You just, this is what you do. And most people don't like the change on that. But every once in a while, it really probably doesn't cost much for somebody just to come in and take a look. But it's just expanding your horizons, because we're all going to grow into something different. That's part of being in business, right? This is good today, but 5 years from now, we got to change it to this.
Absolutely.
But the key to this is that you've got to hire the professionals that are advising you, not just maintaining you, right? You need that. And as the entrepreneurs are out there, you're never too small to get the advice. If you set the things up at the beginning, you solve years of going through the valley of death. But we just did everybody's not doing a good job, the professionals, of sharing that we can help you with that. And as an entrepreneur, if you're trying to go through that, have somebody come and talk to you. You'd be surprised what you're going to learn. And then again, you can evolve through that, but just, the money you're going to pay your professionals is an investment. It's not a fee. It's not a cost. You're always going to get a return on that.
Yeah.
If they're good. If you're hiring somebody to do a task, you're just spending money to do a task. You're not getting anything of value. And so that's the mantra we try to preach to, not our clients, but also to entrepreneurs listening, is that you're trying to get a value proposition, not a task.
Yeah. Well, very well put. Absolutely. It's okay to ask questions and constantly, and don't settle is really the key there. Like, don't settle. It's okay to start, where you're at. And if you need to start there, that's fine. But when you're ready, just start having conversations. It's not something that you need to, don't wait till the last minute and say, okay, I'm ready. Because there's a lot of things that you need to figure out and iron out. Because, I mean, again, 401k is just one tax code. That's one
piece.
So many pieces to it that needs to be looked at, and how it all connects, and it's a huge puzzle. It's a huge puzzle.
Well, it's funny, the speed of business is so fast, and you're always making quick decisions and rehashing, But on certain things, you're way better off to plan and not make it a poop show
Yeah.
and grow into it versus just trying to jam it in on April 14th. It just sounds terrible. Or December
Oh
31st.
gosh.
There's the
There's
worst.
a lot of money being left on the table
Oh,
that
completely.
I see every year right now. Anytime
Yep.
there's so many deadlines out there that you have to think about, and you're like, oh shoot, you should have waited. Oh, it takes that long to do. Oh no, that's not going to work. So it's just have the conversation. I don't care if it's 2 years out. That's what we do. We'll take 2 years and say we'll talk to someone 2 years before they're ready to do it and say this is what's available, assuming no changes, and we need this much time in advance to figure this out. So
Yeah, there's never
great
changes. So
point.
it's okay. There's
Well,
never changes.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna make
usually norm.
I'm gonna make a hard pivot here.
Go for it.
So you said before the show started that you have an office back here in Ohio. How did that come about?
Well, my business partner lives in Columbus. He was, so I'm in Hawaii, right? So I tend to do some later meetings for business owners that want to do some later meetings, and I accidentally set a meeting up for the day of the championship for Ohio State.
What the heck were you thinking?
It's a time zone thing, right? You're like, wait, where am I? So
They're
he didn't
probably
make
Notre
that
Dame
meeting, but
fan. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Actually, you know what? I think they were both Ohio State fans, to be honest with you. Yeah, so my buddy, my business partner, I've known him forever, and he's in Columbus, Ohio. Our other business partners in Maryland. We're a national company, but we have employees all the way out as far as, I mean, don't include me, but as far as Colorado, and we do a lot of marketing in almost every state mandated state at this point. But we have clients everywhere, all over the country.
Gotcha. So you're in Hawaii and you start this business. At what point, obviously you have a business partner, but at what point, or was it already set up like this, did you decide you wanted to get a team? You couldn't just have, a little show. It had to get big.
Well, I would say I joined the team, but really early. So it was there's 3 owners to our company, and myself and the third owner, joined at the same time, joined the Columbus partner at the same time. And back then, it was just, I think it was just Ohio and Florida, I believe, were the 2 states that we were in. And then so that brought us to, or actually it was just Ohio, and then I brought in Florida. I was in Florida at the time, and then our other partner in Maryland. So that kind of turned us into 3 states, and then since then we've expanded to at least 15, I think it is, in terms of marketing, where our footprint is. But then again, we're all over. We have clients everywhere.
Yeah, you can't do it on your own. You got to have a team. I mean, if you're ever going to scale or
Huge.
just be good at what you're doing, you have to have a team. And entrepreneurs, God love us, we just feel like we have to do it all and be an expert in everything, and we just don't. We just got to recognize that you got to bring in experts for it.
That is a great lesson. If it's between your team and and one other person, that's you versus your team versus one person, you're going to win for that client, because they want to see a team, they want to see succession, they want to see a collaborative approach, and I think that's absolutely a great lesson.
So I have a slew of questions here as we kind of wrap
It's the
it up.
speed round.
Yep, go for it.
So I think I know the answer to this one, but who is your mentor? Who was your mentor? How did you get to where you are? Is there a very specific person, or?
I have multiple mentors, to be honest with you. Obviously my dad was in the beginning of that. And he passed away at age 60, unfortunately. So I was pretty alone for a long time. I had, I had some higher ups that I would teach me things. But now I have multiple mentors. I have one who helped invent deferred comp back in the 70s is one. And I have another one who really helps me with strategies as far as tax strategy. Periodically we'll go to this compound in Arizona, who's I won't mention his name, but he's a fluent writer. and his ex-business partner. So we'll get together with CPAs and attorneys and advisors and insurance agents, whatever. We'll all collaborate together in this compound in Arizona, and we'll just have a blast talking about strategies and like what works and what doesn't. So I have multiple mentors that I lean on, and that has been a humongous game changer, because I went 10 years without any, and then all of a sudden it was just jump forward in my career.
Yeah. I assumed the easy answer was your dad, but
he was. Yeah, absolutely. That's a no-brainer for sure.
So the next question is what is your superpower?
I would say it's connecting people and communicating with people and speaking with people, and on a one-on-one basis, absolutely, like one-on-one, and getting to know them very, very closely, and creating a personal connection with them. So when I was doing the podcasting and everything, I was missing something, right? There was no back and forth conversation with people. And then I very quickly realized that was my superpower. So that's where I formed my current role in this company. Was that's all I do is connect and help them build their next step into their journey of entrepreneurship, whether it's through, 401k is one big part of that conversation, obviously. But there's so many other pieces. We talk strategy. I'll have 2-hour conversations with people and just talk about like, hey, what if you did this? What about this? That you could go this path, and think of your business as a multi-generational kind of situation. So many different ways you can look at it. And that's what I absolutely love doing. So I was able to mold my current role in this company because I really understood what my superpower was.
But it took you a long time to get there, right? That was that long path
15
that
years.
you talked about, right? Like, so
15 years.
Bam, there it is.
I think that's something to our listeners is you don't have to have it all figured out. You just got to get on the path to take the journey, right? And
keep
at some
walking.
point,
Keep walking.
Hit you with a 2x4 maybe.
Yes.
Last question. Best question.
The best one.
What is your end game?
Mic drop.
Oh, wait, he maybe really did freeze.
Oh, no.
No. That question just really was the best question. We've never had that happen before.
Ever. I must have cut the cable from Hawaii to San Diego. Yeah.
He'll be back.
You needed him.
Here it is.
We've never had that happen. Did that question really get you?
I was so stumped. I didn't know what to say. I heard you say last question, and then just my power flash. We have a really big storm coming. I was like, oh, I hope we get this through before. So, okay.
So I ended the question. You were like frozen, and we were like, I'm like,
oh no, we didn't want to freak him out.
Oh no.
He's so scared.
Last question, best question. What is your end game?
Oh my. What is my end game? Well, I don't think I have an end game. I don't think I have. I think that is such a loaded question, because evolution is inevitable. That's a powerful phrase. So evolution is inevitable because you don't know what the next step is. I don't even know what tomorrow's going to look like. So I don't know, because I'm always learning something new by talking to these entrepreneurs. So I don't know. I am not the kind of guy who's going to just say, hey, let's retire and don't do anything by any stretch of the imagination. So it's probably going to be, and I'm also the kind of guy who, I'm a rich dad, poor dad kind of mindset, right? I want to like build income producing assets and then let those kind of be more passive, and build something for the next generation, my kids and things like that. So the end game is, I don't have one. I would probably say I don't.
Well, so you might be the first one that had enough awareness to say that, because most people are, they dabble with like, well, did I want to retire? What am I going to do? Or maybe I'll do this. The correct answer is for most entrepreneurs is there is no end game. You may not be doing 401ks in 10, 20 years, but you'll be doing something with whatever passion has evolved in you. You're not going to probably be sitting on the couch eating bonbons, I'm guessing.
You know too much. Why would
Yeah,
you?
no way.
You can impact so many people. Why would you stop being productive and say, oh, I'm just going to sit on the beach and drink all day? Like that just isn't going to happen for
That's
most
not,
entrepreneurs. It
nah,
isn't going to work.
not me.
So yeah, it was a trick
Not
question.
me.
You answered it well. So
Yeah,
nice job.
somehow you answered it. It was a trick question and you still got it right.
Awesome.
I
Well,
have no, yeah.
well, Matt, we do appreciate you being on the show. I really think there's a lot of good nuggets in here for our listeners. If you want to give a quick plug to your company.
And if you remember that book.
Yeah.
You know, I've been sitting here just like I'm gonna
It's okay. If you send it
let's
to us later, we'll add it to the show notes.
I
How about
will.
that?
I will. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, my company, you can get to us through 401k.expert is a pass through web domain, but it's Life Inc. Retirement Services. Life incrs.com is another way to get to it. And we have all sorts of tools on there. If you don't know what plan you're trying to do, that we have something called the evaluator. We have a tax credit calculator, so we'll estimate what your tax credits are going to look like. And we have all sorts of tools. And then at the end of the day, we love having conversations. So conversations. And that's the best way to really know what's best, because every company's different. They always evolve, and that's what we like to do.
Facts, total facts. Well, hey, we appreciate you being on the show and getting up early. It means a lot to us, and we'll get everything out to you. And again, another fabulous edition of Empowering Entrepreneurs. I'm Glenn Harper.
Julie Smith.